What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over some tips to hopefully help you win the boss POIs or clear the boss POIs more often in Chapter 5. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, and comment down below if you like landing at these POIs or which of the mythic POIs is your favorite to land at. Mine would probably be fencing fields. And whether or not you want to go for the mythic item, the medallion, or just get access to the workbench, there's lots of reasons to want to go to these POIs this season. Also, just they're typically pretty contested, so if you want to get into a lot of fights off spawn and get a lot of kills, these POIs can be great. But one big difference between the boss POIs this season compared to how they were the last time we had them in the last resort season is that this time you don't really need to rush about or stress about rushing the boss and getting to them as fast as possible. In last resort, the best play to do was often just to try to get to the boss before anybody else, eliminate them, and then get into that vault. But that doesn't really work that well this season because the boss takes longer to kill. I feel like they have more HP than the bosses in Last Resort did, but they also have the second wind where once you break their shield, they will have an extra shield and then summon more guards, which we'll get to later on in the video. But also the POIs themselves feel much smaller to me, and they're much less vertical than how the Last Resort boss POIs were. So don't think that you just have to rush the boss and try to eliminate them as fast as possible. I feel like that's often going to be the worst possible play you can make, and a lot of times the players that just land on one gun and then try to run to the boss just end up getting third-partied and eliminated by the other players. In the POI, I try to just clear the POI and then go for the boss when I can. Like I said, pretty much anytime I see someone rush the boss super fast, they just end up making it easier for somebody else to kill the boss later. And also, I try to eliminate as much as the guards as I can as well, because this just reduces the amount of chaos in the area and how much is going on, and you don't have to worry about them shooting or walking around and making noise anymore, which will kind of matter, and I'll talk about this later on in the video when we talk about third parties. The boss has a second wind when you break their shield, like I talked about already. When you break their shield, they'll kind of go into an animation where they stand there for a second, and then they get an extra shield, and they summon 2 more guards with them. I like to try to reload or have another weapon ready to go before I break their shield. That way I can get in a lot of damage before they regenerate their shield, because they do just stand there and not really fight back for a decent amount of time during the second wind, so you can get them super weak. Allegedly, you can't kill them. I've had people tell me that even if you get their health to basically 0 during this point, they won't die. But either way, you can get their health low during this time, and using that time to get their health low is better than just reloading in that time and then having to take out their health again anyways, so I like to try to damage them when they're in that second wind, because they're not fighting back, and it can be super easy to get a lot of damage on them while they're just standing there, and you don't have to, their normal HP doesn't regen, it's just the shield. So that's why I like getting that damage in during that time. And if you communicate this in squads, hey, we're getting the shield low, everyone reload beforehand, and you just kind of get in the habit of doing that, you're going to get them very weak. So the second time you break their shield, they're basically going to die, and that's going to be good. When fighting the boss and the guards, I try to just get them to follow me down hallways or into rooms, and then turn back and shoot them from a right shoulder peek. The AI really aren't that dangerous, but you don't want to take damage from them. And taking damage or standing out in the open while fighting them will make it easier for somebody else to third party you, and that's what you need to be most concerned about this. I've had people tell me hey, if you just stand right next to the boss, they don't hit you. I don't know whether that is or isn't true, but just for the sake of making it more inconvenient for somebody to third party me, I don't want to be standing out in the open in the middle of a room. I try to always put myself near some sort of cover when fighting these AI, just so that in the event a third party does happen, that I'm able to deal with that the best I possibly can. That's what I'm most concerned about the entire time I'm fighting these bosses. And the guards is not the bosses or the guards themselves, it's just other players third partying you, and you don't want to tunnel vision too much in on the boss or the guards. Eliminate them when you can, yeah, get damage on them when you can, but if you're all of your attention is on the fact that you're fighting the boss, it's going to be much easier for somebody else to third party you. I do like to land on like the edge of the POI typically and loot up a bit and get a decent amount of loot, because like I said, you don't need to stress about somebody rushing the boss, because if they do, it takes quite a while for them to kill the boss and somebody else is probably just going to third party them anyway. So I just play to put myself in the best position, and that means, you know, getting loot, getting shield, also just clearing as many of the other players from the POI as I can, and then go for the boss after I've cleared most of the POI. And I do like taking out the guards, like I said, just so there's less audio going on, and just getting this more loot and getting shield and getting like the weapons that you actually want to use, I feel like reduces, not really reduces your chances of getting third partied, but makes it to where when you do get third partied, you have more options in that fight. Like if you loot up and get shockwaves, that's going to help you in that fight. If you have shield, that's going to help you, you know, like the fights where you get third partied is what I'm most concerned about here. And there also will be players coming from other POIs or unnamed areas to try to like snag the mythic, the medallion, or just use the workbench. So there will always be third parties. Even if you landed here alone, or maybe you saw only one other person land here and you eliminated them, just expect other players to be coming from who knows where, because a lot of people know, you know, that the workbench is in the vault and they want to customize their weapons, but also they want those mythic weapons, they want those medallions. So you're pretty much always going to have to be on your toes. And even after you've eliminated the boss and all the guards and other players, never let your guard down, because there's also very likely to be rats hiding who knows where in these POIs. That's just always kind of the nature of vault POIs in Fortnite. But I've had it happen several times this season where like I cleared the POI, I eliminated the boss, and then I kind of just stop paying as much attention to the game. I start reading my Twitch chat and talking about things, and then go to open the vault and then get sniped in the back by somebody who is hiding who knows where, or like get shotgun in the back. And like that timing of them hiding just makes it, you know, impossible or very hard to win that fight. So just even once you think you're safe in these POIs, never let your guard down. It's rough. I know it's frustrating to die to those rats, but it's one of those things where like once it happens to you a few times, you're probably not going to let it happen again. And I think that's like the biggest thing you need to be concerned about, like I've talked about in most of this video, is just having some other player get a better engage on you in a fight than they should, because you're either not paying as much attention and they're hiding, or you're paying too much attention to the boss, or if you let all the guards survive, like I've seen people just focus the boss, because that's kind of what we did in the past with boss POIs. Like when you have all the guards like walking around and shooting and making noise, it can be harder for you to hear that third party coming. That was why I was saying you want to take them out. Not only do you have to worry about less things, but it makes it easier for you to know like, okay, those footsteps are from a player, not the boss, not any of these like one or two guards that are left. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, the biggest thing always is not necessarily the boss or the guards themselves. They're like tanky, but they're really not that dangerous. They'll have times where they beam you, but like you shouldn't be losing to the boss. The threat here is the other players, and I think the biggest mistakes a lot of players make is either rushing the boss like I talked about, or being too fixated on the boss like I talked about, and making themselves an easy third-party target, or just letting their guard down after they've cleared the POI, after they've eliminated the boss. I think those are like the three big mistakes that people make, and if you can avoid doing those things, if you loot up and clear the POI, clear the guards, put yourself in like decent positions while fighting the boss, and put yourselves in positions to be able to respond to third parties, it should be pretty easy for you to deal with these POIs. Also, when you do open the vault and you get access to that loot and get access to that workbench, try to do like loot it and put the attachments on your gun as fast as possible, because I already said there's always going to be people coming to these vaults, whether it's for the medallions or for the bench. So you don't, the more time you're sitting there in the menu thinking about what attachments you want on your gun, the worse off that is for you. So I think it's best to try to be more familiar with the attachments that you want on your gun. That way you can kind of put them on quickly and not have to think about it as much. But that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys found this helpful, informative, interesting. If you did, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, and comment down below which of these boss POIs you like landing at most in Chapter 5. Thanks for watching.